Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, and welcome to Barbados virtually. The island of Barbados is customarily known for its beautiful beaches, two of which are listed in the top 10 beaches in the world. It's also the birthplace of rum, surfing, its crop over festival, as well as international superstar Rihanna. We are also excited to let the world know that Barbados is a very strong proponent for renewable energy with the goal of being carbon neutral by the year 2030. My name is Carrie Amberville, and it is my pleasure this morning to introduce to you the birthplace of the birthplace of EcoMichael, which is a renewable energy startup funded by yours truly, Bloom, and 10 other renewable energy projects through Bloom Cleantech Cluster project funded by Export Barbados, a conjunction of the United Nations International Development Organization and the Global Environment Facility. So, the Bloom project was established in 2019 and is funded by the Export Barbados BIDC in partnership with Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, and the Global Environment Fund. 10 projects were selected in 2020, and my project, EcoMichael, was one of the lucky finalists. Our cluster manager, Mr. Yari Altonin, will tell you more about our project, but let me first tell you a bit more about Barbados. So, Barbados is the most easterly island of the Caribbean, and it's 166 miles with a population with 287,000 people. I know, not even half a million. In Barbados, we speak English as our national language, but also we have a local dialect known as Bajan. It's essentially where we shorten all our words. This explains the name of our virtual tour today. Bloom is the name of our incubation cluster, which is helping local startups in the field of renewable energy to grow their businesses into strong energy efficient plants using the readily available and eco materials, including sunlight, waste materials, and the ocean, as well as waste from plants. BIM is the nickname or Bajan term for Barbados, which is mostly used by locals today. So I have that permission to share that word with you. Today, we're also sharing more about how we as a project are blooming in the field of renewable energy. So I hope you enjoy joining us today. Our cluster manager for the Bloom project, Mr. Yari Altonin, will also tell you about our project site, what we do there, the companies involved in the project, and how, if you wish, you can be a part of it. Also on the platform is my co-incubatee, Mr. Joshua Ford, who will answer any questions you have about his startup Red Diamond Compost, which has special ingredients that help plants bloom. And last but by no means least, Mr. Lorenzo Harewood, a project officer on the project, an expert in the field of Barbados, the agricultural field of Barbados, and as well as also our moderator for today, who will introduce our video and help to answer any questions that you may have. So before I pass you off to Mr. Altonin, I'll just share a few key points on the history of renewable energy in Barbados. So, the island has been heavily involved in renewable energy since the 1960s, where a visiting professor used readily available materials to make one of the first cost-efficient solar energy heaters. And then in 1973, the interest and focus in solar energy was spurred once more when a disruption in the oil industry caused the first major solar energy for water heating project to be launched. Luckily for me, this meant that growing up as a youth in Barbados, most homes had solar water heating in the 1970s and 1990s, and bathing in cold water was just not the norm unless you went for a dip in one of our lovely beaches. Today, solar panels have become quite popular, and we have many Barbadians involved in the industry of solar panel installation. As you will see during our virtual tour, my company, EcoMichael, is also using readily available materials to create energy. So I hope you enjoy and I hope you enjoyed and once again welcome to Bloom in BIM and the Barbados virtual tour. Over to you, Yari.
And let me introduce myself. My name is Lorenzo Harewood. I'm going to be moderating the session today, as Carrie Ann would have mentioned earlier, I am one of the project officers, consulting project officers with the Bloom Cleantech cluster in Barbados. Karen alluded to the fact that, doing definitely something that's going to be very revolutionary, something that is leading the headway in terms of the transition away from using the harmful environmental plastics. But we also have on the session Joshua Ford, who is also focusing on a project he's going to expand on as well, which is taking the infestation of the seaweed and transferring it into something that can help the agricultural industry expand both in quantity and quality as well. It's worthwhile mentioning that the Bloom Clean cluster also comprises of a number of other incubators that focus on agriculture, of course, along with Joshua. And then we also have renewable energy, which is like solar energy primarily at this particular juncture. But obviously, we're open to many other different types of renewable energy technology. We have 3 incubators that are focusing on solar energy with 3 solar startups. And then we also have not necessarily a solar company, but a company that's focused on electromobility on the sea. This is an electric boat from the educational institution here in Barbados known as SJPI, or Samuel Jackman Prescott Institute. So basically, I think I can kind of gauge the level of interaction that Carrie-Anne has already had with her particular project. And I can tell you, based on some of the work that she's done and showcased to us, that there's a number of hours that went in, extensive hours that went into research and development of what she's doing. Similar to Joshua, who has actually gotten to the stage where he has a final product that is ready for market. And this is something that we're definitely looking forward to highlighting throughout this particular program. In today's program, we also have a brief presentation in terms of video, just going to showcase in some of the advances of the incubators, in particular Carrie-Anne's advance as well. And Joshua will definitely supplement that with his particular product. But we would also welcome any questions that are asking us about the other projects from the other incubators as well. Even though they're not necessarily here as incubators, it would be good to give you some more insight as to what the Bloom Clean cluster focuses on, because it's really an all-encompassing project that focuses on capturing the different types of technologies and approaches to ensuring that we can enhance the viability of these particular projects with respect to, without compromising the quality of the environment as well. I think we will proceed with the video, and then we'll showcase one of our projects. So please proceed with the video.
One of the top participants in the Bloom Cleantech cluster program, which again offered me not only financial support in the form of grant funding, but also mentorship, business support services, marketing, business plan writing, and office and maker space.
Bloom is a national sustainable energy and climate technology cluster based in Barbados with a regional and international focus. Our mission is to coordinate and provide business advisory services for our members in project financing, market research, innovation, management, and product commercialization. Bloom also provides individual coaching and financial support for the innovative startups and entrepreneurs as a part of our Business Incubator Runway program. Our mission is also to develop a highly competent ecosystem for sustainable energy companies by providing cluster members access to high-quality business intelligence, matchmaking, and business incubation services. Local startup companies are available to apply for the project and access funding if they're successful. And at the beginning of each part of the program cycle, 5 of them are chosen as resident incubators and are allowed to use the incubation center to do their work from. The incubation center, the purpose is also to allow them to have access to makerspace where they can create or develop their technologies in any of the aforementioned areas. Barbados is a small island located in the Eastern Caribbean, and the country has committed to an energy revolution and is hopeful to achieve its 2030 energy goal of becoming 100% carbon neutral.
My name is Carrie-Anne. I am the founder of the startup called EcoMyco, and we are renewing the way you package.
So let's start at the beginning of this journey. How did you develop an interest in this field of science?
Okay, well, my initial fascination in the field of chemistry stemmed from the fact that it is in all walks of life, It is involved in textiles, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, water, chemistry, everything. My initial fascination was because it can go into every single realm of life, and then from there I decided to pursue a degree in chemistry where I gained the broad knowledge of everything chemistry related, and then I fine-tuned my interest to material science, which is what EcoMico does. Regarding my interest in material science specifically, I looked around my gorgeous but tiny island of Barbados and saw that we too suffer from the plastic pollution crisis that the rest of the world suffers from. And the best way to solve it in the most sustainable manner I found was to utilize local, organic, agricultural and marine waste to produce bioplastics and biomaterials that truly biodegrade and do not pollute our environment.
Can you tell us about the main issues that you will be addressing?
So the three most prominent issues within the bioplastics and biomaterials realm is the fact that one, many bioplastics are not competitive with current petroleum-based plastics in terms of cost. Fossil fuel and its constituents are rather cheap, and the resulting plastics are very cheap and easy to create. And as a result, a new biodegradable plastic from organic matter has a higher cost, and that is something that currently stifles the industry, along with the fact that many bioplastics and biomaterials actually do not possess similar or superior mechanical and physical properties to that of petroleum-based plastics. So as a result, many items cannot be replaced by bioplastics at this point in time. And the third issue with many biomaterials is the fact that when they do possess the appropriate qualities, mechanical and physical qualities, oftentimes they are not truly biodegradable, or they need to be in specific industrial facilities in order to biodegrade. And in many islands, third small island developing states like Barbados, there are no such things, no industrial composters. So they essentially do the same thing as petroleum-based plastics: pollute, affect marine and human and terrestrial life.
So how does your innovation address these issues?
Given that single-use petroleum-based products are currently banned within the Caribbean and many other islands like my little island of Barbados, my biodegradable plastics and biomaterials will allow local manufacturers to actually operate their businesses legally, because they can no longer import petroleum-based bioresins and biomaterials from outside. My biodegradable plastic also provides local manufacturers with a steady and secure supply chain, as opposed to importing from foreign territories where the supply chain can be sometimes unpredictable, as seen in the case with the COVID-19 pandemic. So my product not only provides secure supply chain, but also prevents the need for building new infrastructure in the form of industrial composters, because my bioplastics will be able to compost in your at-home garden. So there'll be no need for industrial composters.
Where do you see EcoMico in the next 5 years?
Within the next 5 years, EcoMico will be a full commercial scale manufacturing company where we'll be producing not only biodegradable resins but also styrofoam alternatives, all made from local organic agricultural and marine waste like sargassum, seaweed, cassava peels, and any other organic matter we can get our hands on at this tiny little island.
So how has your participation in Bloom helped you on your journey thus far?
Bloom has not only provided me with financial support, but also mentorship, business plan writing, market research and validation, and as well as the provision of makerspace and an office space. These provisions help me work in a more productive and efficient manner, and also provided me the space to complete my research and development and fine-tune my prototypes and my products. In addition, EcoMico will also be expanded across the Caribbean, given that we all share similar resources, similar organic matter, similar marine matter, and we also suffer from the plastic pollution crisis, which makes this business very scalable to share the environmental benefits with all. So here we have an example of my raw materials. First, we have sargassum seaweed, which I'm sure you know plagues Barbados and the entire Caribbean, as well as Mexico, Florida. It's essentially a pest. And we also have some cassava peels, which are a waste product because we don't eat them. We only eat the interior of the cassava. So as opposed to impeding on our food security, I decided to use waste matter like these two, as you can see right here. And here you have the extracts that I got from these two raw materials. And lastly, you can see I have my biodegradable plastic here. But you may ask, how did I get from these to this? Well, firstly, I extract the polymers from these two raw materials. As you can see here, I am stirring, I'm using acids, I'm heating, all that stuff to get the extracts from the raw materials, which you can see right here. So after the useful components have been extracted, we have this.
Hi guys, Joshua Fort here from Red Diamond Compost. Just to talk to you today about what is Red Diamond Compost, who we are, what we care about, and the things that we're doing here in the beautiful island of Barbados. What we do essentially is produce organic and biologic soil treatment and crop protection solutions using organic waste materials. So things that would be traditionally considered as waste sent to the landfill and dumped. We look for those key resources that can be diverted from the landfill and converted into premium high quality soil treatment and crop protection products, such as the fertilizers, the biostimulants, the soil conditioners, and so on. Back in 2014, I actually was dealing with, going through a bit of a health crisis, right? My health was in jeopardy. I was going to the doctor, taking medication, and it allowed me to improve up to a certain point, but I still wasn't feeling the best that I could. So upon doing some research on how to grow a number of foods for my pet iguana, I actually came across a guy, a YouTuber with a gardening show, telling me about nutrient-dense foods. And for me, it was like, nutrient-dense foods? It was like the first time I ever heard the term nutrient-dense food. So as he started to explain more and more about it, and I started to learn more, I was like, okay, I gotta figure out how I can work for myself the most nutrient-dense foods to improve my health. Upon his own recommendations, I actually started to change my diet and my lifestyle, consuming foods that are naturally more nutritious. I actually felt much better than I felt in my entire life. So it took me on a journey of searching for, okay, what are these components that I would need to produce the most nutrient-rich food?
A well-diversified renewable energy sector is my vision for the Caribbean. Yes.
Thank you very much to Carrie Ann, to Joshua, and to all of those other persons that made it possible, the producers, and certainly a name that we haven't called much today, to Akila Phillips for coordinating every particular aspect of that production. It was a wonderful video. I'm certain that the others that are watching also agree that it was a very good video. Because we had a disruption earlier, I'll just ask Mr. Yari Altonen if he cares to say a few words about the Bloom project. We had a bit of a disruption in the hearing earlier. Can you come in now, Yari? Okay, we'll move steadily along. So picking up from everything that Carrie Ann and Joshua said, could you both come on camera, please? I'm going to be engaging you very actively now. Joshua is using the sargassum seaweed to increase both the quality and the quantity of the production in the agricultural sector. We have Carrie Ann using the sargassum as well as other organic materials such as the cassava. They call it yucca as well in Latin America. So some of you may not necessarily be familiar with the word cassava, but it's also the yucca or manioc, as some persons put it. And she's using that to basically produce the necessary packaging for different types of items, in particular food as well. So let me start with Carrie Ann, ladies first, of course, and just kind of engage her on this particular journey that she's done in terms of producing this packaging for the Caribbean, for Barbados, and hopefully globally. So Carrie Ann, where did you first get the inspiration from it, and where do you see, if possible, this being the most applicable amongst all of the solutions in terms of packaging?
Okay, Joshua, can you introduce your company, please? Do you hear me?
Hi,
Right, well,
yes,
go ahead, Joshua. You introduce your company, then I'll fill in afterwards. Go ahead.
sure.
So,
Thank you, and thank you, everyone. My name is Joshua Fort. I'm the founder of Red Diamond Compost. We're a biotech social enterprise based here in Barbados, where our focus is on how do we bring the access to the most nutrient-rich foods to everyone in the world. Really, that's our goal and our mission. And the way we go about doing that is by creating various types of organic and biologic fertilizers, soil conditioners, biostimulants, right? Various types of green and clean agrochemicals. And we make these primarily from organic waste materials such as the sargassum seaweed, as Lorenzo would have mentioned. But we also use various types of invasive plant species, not only the sargassum, but land plants as well. We use waste materials from animals, fish, food scraps, food waste, any type of organic material that we could find, especially invasive species and pests. We seek how best can we take these organic materials, these materials that were once living, and convert them into something that's useful, that can help build food and nutrition security, help build the sustainability, the regenerative nature when it comes to soil and long-term fertility, so that we can have a cleaner and more regenerative environment to grow in. Thanks.
You should do likewise, Carrie Ann. So tell us about your company.
So,
okay, thank you, Joshua, for your presentation. Can you highlight for the audience your greatest achievements you have so far achieved in your startup trip in the past 4 years? What have been the greatest achievements?
Okay, so yeah, so thank you. What some of the greatest achievements I have had, well, let's say on the entrepreneurial journey, have included being able to participate and win several regional and international competitions. I've participated in the Climate Launchpad Barbados Nationals and was the winner of that. Advanced on to the Global Grand Finals in the Netherlands. This was in 2019. Have been a delegate of the Global Entrepreneurship Summit at The Hague as well, between the Netherlands and the US. I've been able to successfully complete the Young Leaders of America's Initiative Fellowship Program. And in just last year, was also the winner, really, of the Young America's Business Trust Caribbean Innovation Competition. Yeah, these, and I'm sure there are a couple others that I may be forgetting, but yeah, I've been really pushing and striving to not only build this company, this organization, to have this type of impact, but I've been really working on building our network and our relationships with various organizations, both regionally and internationally. Just to mention, Red Diamond Compost is also a partner of the Regeneration International Organization and a signatory to the 4 per 1,000 initiative, where we're looking at really maximizing the carbon sequestration in soils as well.
So, thank you for your comprehensive answer, your presentation. And can you give your estimate what will be your in your entrepreneurial journey, and what will be the next big milestone in your company's journey?
So what we're really looking at doing moving forward now, where we have a range of products that we've developed, worked out not only the production process for the products and working on the efficacy and validation of the actual product applications, but the model that Red Diamond Compost is looking to initiate and be able to expand this globally is one whereby our process, which we call this diamond matrix process of assessing are in a specific region or country, and then being able to identify the available organic resources and actually match those resources to those needs and being able to design these solutions. What we're actually doing is developing this entire process into a platform that allows us to more or less replicate this in any territory, any environment, with whatever organic resources they have available. So our next steps are really in terms of tightening up the intellectual property really around our business, and being able to license the processes that we design and develop and test to various persons wherever they may be in the world. Because again, this is not limited to just Barbados or to the Caribbean. Wherever you have people growing food and wherever you have organic resources available, Red Diamond Compost, our model can exist and will be sure to succeed. So that is what we'll be pursuing.
Okay. For briefing out your very exciting development. Your company is living a very exciting time and business in the Caribbean region and creation of licensing challenging approach. It's a really big next step. But I will give it the turn for the moderator for Mr. Lorenzo. Could you continue work as a moderator, please?
Okay, guys, can you hear me? Okay, fantastic. I had to refresh the page just now. I don't know what happened there. So let me continue. Thank you very much, Mr. Altonen, for asking those very salient questions. So on to carry on. I was asking you to do likewise as Joshua had done, and just kind of describe your business for us in brief.
Hi everyone again. As I said before, EcoMyco is a biomaterials company, and my background of being a chemist turned material scientist, we use agricultural and marine waste like yucca or manioc, as many call it in South America, as well as the sargassum seaweed that plagues the entire Caribbean Sea and the region surrounding. We use organic matter like that, and we extract very pertinent compounds, namely mini polymers, and we use that to manufacture firstly bioplastics, and we're also branching into other biomaterials to replace the various kinds of packaging that are based from petroleum and fossil fuels. The idea first came because, as I'm sure many of you are aware, bioplastics are not new. They have been here for decades actually. However, EcoMyco has sought to improve and make bioplastics and all biomaterials to be on par with the current industry, but not even just on par, but even superior to what we already have. But in the same way, not pollute the environment, not cause marine and terrestrial damage to animals and human life, and pollute and just cause a very unsightly environment. Instead, we want to encourage a circular economy where we can take our organic matter, make a useful product, and return it back to Mother Earth and Mother Nature, just as it was in the beginning. So that is EcoMyco in a nutshell.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So I was asking another question earlier. Where do you see this having the most impact amongst all that you mentioned earlier? What do you think is the most significant impact, whether it be a financial impact in terms of reduction of impact? But you tell me, what do you think the most significant impact of this product would be?
Okay, I would say there are two most significant impacts, not just one. One being the cost to, apologies for the noise. The two most significant impacts, one being the cost to the manufacturers, and I say that not just because it will be a more affordable price, but the way that consumers in this day and age are more aware, and they prefer to spend their dollars with companies that are more environmentally aware and utilize the best practices for the environment. So it will have the best dollar. It will be in their best interest to utilize my product because that's what the consumers want. So not only will it be cheaper on their pockets, but it will also encourage more business to come to them as opposed to competitors that are currently using petroleum-based biodegradable plastics and biomaterials. And in addition, apart from the financial aspect, Mother Nature will be very, very thankful that she will no longer be polluted by petroleum-based plastics and the fossil fuel industry, which, as you know, many derivatives pollute the environment, pollute the ocean, and infest our food and food supply chain and what's not. And it will just be an overall improvement for our environment and our human health as well.
Thank you very much, Karen. Let me first also acknowledge to our participants that we are open to questions and to questions, and you can make any questions and comments as you see fit. We will definitely be willing to respond to them in a very timely manner. So over to you, Joshua, as well. We're speaking about contamination or the lack thereof in terms of the products that we're seeing here, and I take from the fact that you're offering something that is totally organic in terms of its orgasms. You're offering us a solution from the quote unquote stench and overwhelming amount that we see at the beach. And you're offering something that doesn't necessarily contaminate the onshore environment as well. I want to know something from you though. In terms of the other similar products that you've seen on the market, what makes Red Diamond stand out the most?
Thanks for that question, Lorenzo. What I would say is the values behind Red Diamond, first of all, behind our company, behind our brand and what we represent. The messaging and what we do, the actions that we take is very, very clear. The products that we create starts from a philosophy of what the goals are that we're trying to achieve. So one, we want products that contain no synthetic ingredients, because it's not just the idea of having, say, a clean product. And we can say that because we have other organic products out there in the market that when you really look at them closely, they do contain different types of synthetic ingredients. So while they may be safer than the toxic synthetic chemicals, the complete, say petroleum-based fertilizers and so on, at the same time, they are safer. They may be safer for us to use, but when we look at the beneficial organisms in the soil, the microbes, the fungi, the bacteria, and all these different, all the way up to the earthworms and beetles and so on, that help actually build the soil and build the resistance against disease, these beneficial organisms, and the bees, the pollinators as well. Many of these products on the market still have a negative impact on these organisms. So our job at Red Diamond Compost is to create products that help these organisms thrive. So it's working in tandem with with nature, with the ecosystem, to create one that is, again, regenerative. It's going to continue to build and build as the years go on and get better. I mean, there's not many people that would look to create a business that would put themselves out of business, but really and truly the idea for us is to have an environment at least 50 years, down the road, where it is not necessary for you to be using even a Red Diamond product, because you would have built this ecosystem. It's not just the products, but the practices that we promote as it pertains to organic regenerative agriculture as well is really important and ties hand in hand with our brand.
Very much, Joshua. From what I understand, in summary, Red Diamond is not a product, not just a product. It's really a movement. It's really something that focuses on things like change management, getting persons to understand the exponential benefits of transitioning from the chemical fertilizers into more organic fertilizers, which end up within your body as well. Considering that it is a movement usually festers from the individual consumers and also to the policymakers. I take note of the fact that in countries like Uganda, back in 2016, they had a national fertilizer policy. Do you think that your particular movement can have any traction, in terms of helping policymakers to have a better understanding and appreciation for some of the interventions they make towards the betterment and the better health of the society as well?
For that question, and I definitely believe so. part of the groundwork I would say that I've been doing over these past few years has been even trying to understand the level of the policymakers and how they make their decisions. How do the policies actually reflect on the ground, and what type of impact are they actually having? And one of the key things that I have seen, and this is why we kind of push not just the product, but the entire movement and the practices and the philosophy and everything, because what we've seen is that the support that policymakers can have, the greatest support, especially within the Caribbean and Latin America, is being able to provide what they call general services support to growers, not necessarily subsidizing fertilizers or having this direct impact on banning or allowing a particular type of product. But while there's still a place for that, the greater the more effective approach that we see is providing the support in terms of educating persons, having the infrastructure in place. So for an organization like mine to be able to have the infrastructure in place to not only manufacture our products, but have the platform and the forums to be able to engage the wider communities of growers, commercial farmers, and home gardeners, to be able to educate them on these practices. And we're going to be doing this from a place where we can literally measure what this impact is over time, right? And have that hard evidence and those hard figures there, so you can see from an economic standpoint, there's a huge benefit and advantage to going this route in the long run, as opposed to what we have been doing over the years that clearly we already know is not working.
Fantastic response, Joshua. Over to you, Carrie. We have our first question, and this goes to you. This is just based on your experience. Do you think women entrepreneurs in Barbados face different additional challenges compared to men? If yes, what's the difference for young women and men to found a startup?
Thank you, Katharina. Okay, in my experience and in my realm as firstly a former student of our local university, in my experience, it was not as challenging to me in comparison to the experience of males. To give a reason as to why, at the university here, the enrollment rate is about 70 or 80% female and the remainder male. So we are basically in an environment where females are, in the science even, females are the more dominant gender in that realm. So it wasn't anything too difficult for me. And after university, however, it does have its challenges where people may underestimate you. I wouldn't say that is a problem, but they tend to underestimate many females, and they're honestly shocked after they encounter you, which is okay. There's no particular challenge. It's just the initial underestimation, and then after that, it's been pretty okay so far. What difference for young women to found a startup? Well, in the island of Barbados, I think it's difficult in general, regardless of the gender, because of the lack of funding. The startup culture in Barbados is practically non-existent in this time. Joshua and I, we are like the first set, I would say, especially within the green and blue economy. So the challenges I have faced, and I'm sure he faces, are not necessarily to do with gender, but more so the newness of the startup culture for the Caribbean. So those are the most prominent challenges I face. Nothing particularly gender-based at the moment, thankfully.
Thank you very much, Karen. I suspect that Katharina is very pleased with that answer. It was very in-depth and succinct as well. You were speaking about challenges, and I need to jump over to Joshua in terms of the most recent challenge that we had here in Barbados. This year, we had quite a few, of course. Globally, there was the pandemic, and then we also had the challenge with the volcanic ash in St. Vincent that came over here for vacation. And then finally, we had the most recent occurrence of Hurricane Elsa, which disrupted many sectors, including agriculture. So my question to you, Joshua, is how would a product like Red Diamond, how would that necessarily benefit your particular constituents in terms of the farmers with regards to disaster response?
Thanks. There are several different ways in which it would benefit them. When you're looking at disaster response, I mean, one of the first things is when, I mean, we look at the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, what that did to shipping, and the fact that most of the agrochemicals that's used right now are imported, right? Literally 90, like it's more than 95% are imported. So for us being able to be in the region, be on island and be producing locally, they would have that direct access for one. But also when we're looking at what one of the things I would say notice was this huge spike or surge with persons' health consciousness during this pandemic in particular. There were so many more people, persons that I would have been engaging years before, that, you know, it was like, okay, it didn't really have that strong interest. Now they were contacting us. Now they were reaching out to us to find out, okay, what products we have available that they can get, because now it's not just the thing about access to food, but really being self-sufficient. Because we see, you know, we all saw the type of runs that were happening at the supermarkets, and this whole panic about, you know, how are we going to be able to survive? How many people that we know that have lost their jobs, you know, due to these pandemic and the different disasters that have hit us. So for persons looking at self-sufficiency, we are well poised for that. I would say in the initial stages of what I had in mind in developing Red Diamond, this was actually part of it. Red Diamond is to be a solution for persons, say, when all else fails. So when you know, your backs are against the wall, when the borders are shut, you know, how are we going to be able to survive? Because we still need to eat and there's still work to be done, right? So Red Diamond Compost essentially is like that solution here on the ground, and wherever, you know, we set up shop, that would allow persons, again, in a clean, safe environment. And one of the most important things in that type of setting is being able to maximize the amount of nutrients, you know, that you're taking. Any type of survivalist situation that you're looking at, you want to be able to maximize the nutrients. And for us, again, being able to produce these products that help do that, that help the natural ecosystem thrive to the fullest potential, is where our goals are.
That's it, Joshua. Fantastic. And having the experience you had in terms of the natural disasters that we had, and in terms of COVID, as you said, the consumers are throughout that time, from being price conscious to also being quality conscious as well in terms of their particular intake, because there was an influx of all types of fruits and veg on the market, and persons generally didn't know what was happening, because we also had a lack of a traceability system in Barbados as well to identify the particular nutrient strains. So we are just about to wrap up with this session. I think we had a very healthy discussion from both yourself as well as Carrie-Ann. What I'm going to ask is, should there be any more questions? Let me just check first. No, we do not have any more questions. So I will ask you, Joshua, until Carrie-Ann comes back, to just give us a general overview of your particular product and where you see it within the next 5 years, very briefly, so that we can wrap up as well.
Lorenzo. And again, Red Diamond Compost, I mean, we're looking at products that are clean and green as you know, as far as you can push it in terms of creating commercially viable, clean and organic solutions. We're looking at maximizing the health of the soil and the health of ourselves, being able to have an environment where we can grow food to the fullest potential, the fullest nutritional capacity to help enrich ourselves and our lives. And this is what Red Diamond Compost wants to share with the world. And yeah, we're just looking forward, excited and looking forward to being able to replicate this across the Caribbean and across the globe going forward.
Fantastic. I don't see Carrie-Ann on the line. I believe she's having some technical difficulties. So at this, on behalf of the team from the Bloom Clean Cluster Barbados, particularly Mr. Yari Altonen, Akila Phillips, Tamara, Joshua and Carrie Ann for coming on here. I think we had a wonderful session, and let me thank all participants about our project. We're getting a better overview as to what we do. Carrie Ann, you're literally back for the last 2 minutes. We're getting down to brass tacks. Just wrapping up now to let us know where you see Ecomico within the next 5 years. Basically within 2 minutes. We're very short on time. Go ahead.
No problem.
All right, so your mic is stuck, so I think that we will. Thank you very much, Carrie Ann and Joshua, again, and thank you, the participants, and thanks for everyone for coming and joining us on this wonderful session, the first of many, hopefully, to come, and we will see you next year. And we have just left down to brass tacks. Thank you very much.